So tell me,
Hey, what's going on?
not much. Why do you disagree?
Well, I want to make sure that I'm able to steel man the position that you're drawing. So, is it the case that you are drawing a distinction between the sarkos, or the flesh man, or the pneuma, and the spirit man, which is derived in Corinthians, and therefore deriving at a conclusion that we can cease to sin? Is that your position?
No, we're not separating. We're not separating the human nature from ourselves when we talk about this.
We're saying that this is attainable in our human flesh, but we're not talking about walking in the flesh, like in our own strength. We don't believe this can be done. But in our flesh, yes.
Right. So I'm assuming that you're standing on the shoulders of Scripture, and there's a passage that you have extrapolated. Will you walk me through your exegesis so that I'm clear in your hermeneutic to come to the same conclusion that you have? Can you direct me to the passage in which you've derived this conclusion?
Yeah. So I'll mention one verse where we know that Jesus is the truth, right? And because he is the truth, he said, "Go and sin no more." And when he said, "Go and sin no more," because he is the truth, I know that means that it's an ability. It's possible.
Mm. Right. So when he says "go and sin no more," therefore the conclusion is that you can stop sinning. So if I read this, and if it's okay with you, I'd like to read it in the Greek so I can get the absolute fulfillment of what was written in the original text. So I'll read it out loud. So ude ego de Katarino horeu abutu nun meketi aparantante. Okay, so if I just parse that out, meketi ampatane, which is meketi is no longer or no more, is a temporal negation in the Greek, and amartane is a present active imperative in the second person singular from amartano, which is to sin. In the lexical, it would be amartia. And so the implication there is that it is a present imperative, implies ongoing abstention, and is not a one-time perfection. So Jesus commands a directional change, not ontological sinlessness.
Okay, so when he says no more, you're saying that is what is that? When he says no more?
No more, right, no more, and meketi are translations, and some translations use no longer or no more. It is a temporal negation in the Greek context. So meketi amartane, which is basically to say that temporal negation is in the present active imperative of the second person singular, which comes from the root word armartano, from the sin, or from the word of sin, armartie, armartus, or martie, or martines, as that's a present imperative. That implies ongoing abstention. That's not a one-time perfection. So again, my position from the Greek grammar is that it is a directional change. It is not ontological sinlessness.
Okay, so when he said go and sin no more, he is he telling her to go away from the direction of sin?
Yes, move away from sin. That is that. Right. And here's the thing, I'm using the Greek to exegete the text from, and so there's a category error that you're making. So the command "sin no more" is normative. It's not descriptive. It tells us what ought to be, not what always is. So there's a moral versus a metaphysical possibility. Where Jesus commands what is morally right, that doesn't imply humans are metaphysically incapable of failing. That would impose that you are immutable, but that's not one of your characteristics or your attributes from a finite perspective. Only an infinite being or a deity, such as the deity of Christ, can be immutable. You are not immutable simply because a soteriological framework has been impressed upon you.
Okay, and so what you're saying is when Jesus says turn away from the truth, turn away from sin, you're saying that he knows that that's not possible for her to do. Is that what you're saying?
No, what I'm saying is he's saying, leave this life of sin. She was brought to him as an adulterer. Leave this life of sin. Go and turn away from this sin. If go and sin no more proves sinlessness is achievable, then every command proves perfection. But Scripture also says if we say we have no sin, then we deceive ourselves. So there's got to be a resolution in the tension. The command reveals God's standard. Grace empowers progress. That's not instant perfection.
We have a different understanding of that verse. So, if you want to bring up that verse, we can. But what I'm saying is, we both agree that Jesus is the truth. If Jesus says don't do something, that means that means that it is possible to not do that thing.
Okay, I'm going to do this again. Right? I'm going to parse this out for you.
If we make this a very simple thing, if Jesus,
I am making it very simple. I'm parsing out the Greek for you. I'm even telling you what it means. Mekete is no longer or no more. It is a temporal negation. So if it's a temporal,
Jesus is the truth. If Jesus is the truth, go and sin no more. He's not lying about the ability.
Even in the Greek, even if it just means do away with sin, go away from sin, flee from sin, it's still, if Jesus is the truth and he says flee from sin, if Jesus is the truth and says go away from sin, if Jesus is the truth and saying these things, it's possible.
Yeah, it's like you don't have to make it out to be some deep thing. It's very simple and it's possible. All right. Oh, got him.
Oh.